The air was thick with the scent of decay and ozone, a metallic tang that clung to the back of her throat. Dr. Elena Voss woke to the sound of her own ragged breathing. Her body sprawled across a bed of moss that pulsed faintly, as if alive. Above her, the sky was a swirling tapestry of violet and black, streaked with veins of lightning that crackled without sound. She blinked, her vision swimming, and tried to sit up, but her limbs felt heavy, alien, as though the gravity here was not her own. Where was she? The last thing she remembered was the lab, the hum of the particle accelerator, the blinding flash of light, and then nothing. Now she was here in this alien jungle, where the trees towered like skeletal giants, their branches twisted into grotesque shapes. The fog curled around her, whispering secrets in a language she couldn't understand. Elena stumbled to her feet, her boots sinking into the spongy ground. Her hand brushed against something cold and smooth, a shard of glass, or perhaps crystal, embedded in the moss. She picked it up, and it glowed faintly in her palm, casting eerie shadows on her face. The crystal seemed to hum, a vibration that traveled up her arm and into her chest, resonating with something deep inside her. A sound broke the silence, a low, guttural growl that sent a shiver down her spine. She turned, her heart pounding, and saw movement in the fog. Shapes dark and sinuous slithering between the trees. Her breath hitched and she clutched the crystal tighter, its light flaring brighter, as if in response to her fear. Run. The word echoed in her mind, not her own, but urgent, desperate. She didn't question it. She ran, her legs burning as she pushed through the dense undergrowth. The fog seemed to thicken around her, the air growing colder with every step. Behind her, the growls grew louder, closer. She could feel the creatures now, their presence like a weight pressing against her back. And then she saw it, a structure rising out of the fog like a monolith. It was massive, its surface covered in intricate carvings that seemed to shift and writhe as she approached. The air around it crackled with energy, and the ground beneath her feet vibrated with a low, steady hum. Elena hesitated, but only for a moment. The creatures were closing in, their snarls echoing in her ears. She sprinted toward the structure, her fingers brushing against the carvings as she searched for an entrance. The crystal in her hand flared again, and a section of the wall slid open with a hiss, revealing a dark, narrow passage. She plunged inside, the door ceiling shut behind her with a final resounding thud. The air was cool and dry, the walls lined with more of the glowing crystals. She pressed her back against the wall, her chest heaving as she tried to catch her breath. The passage led deeper into the structure, the walls narrowing as she went. The carvings grew more intricate, depicting scenes of a civilization long forgotten, beings with elongated limbs and featureless faces, their hands raised toward a massive, glowing orb. Elena's fingers traced the carvings as she walked, the crystal in her hand pulsing in time with the light from the walls, and then she heard it. A voice, soft and melodic, echoing through the passage. It was speaking in a language she didn't understand, but the words resonated with her, stirring something deep within her mind. She followed the voice, her steps quickening as the passage opened into a vast chamber. The chamber was dominated by the orb from the carvings, its surface swirling with light and shadow. Around it stood figures, their forms shimmering and indistinct as though they were made of the same energy that pulsed within the orb. They turned to her as she entered, their featureless faces somehow conveying a sense of recognition. Elena Voss, one of them said, its voice echoing in her mind. "You have come." She froze, her grip tightening on the crystal. "Who are you? What is this place?" The figures moved closer, their forms solidifying into something vaguely humanoid. "We are the Keepers," the same voice said. "And this is the heart of the Nexus, the bridge between worlds." Elena's mind raced, pieces of the puzzle falling into place. The particle accelerator, the flash of light. She hadn't been transported to another planet. She had been pulled into a parallel dimension, one where the boundaries between reality and imagination blurred. "Why am I here?" she asked, her voice trembling. The Keeper stepped aside, revealing a pedestal at the base of the orb. On it rested a device, its design both alien and familiar. "You are the key," they said. "The one who can restore balance." Elena approached the pedestal, her hand hovering over the device. The crystal in her hand flared again, and she felt a surge of energy, a connection forming between her and the orb. Images flooded her mind, visions of Earth, ravaged by war and environmental collapse, and of this dimension, its energy bleeding into her world, destabilizing both. The truth hit her like a thunderbolt. The particle accelerator hadn't caused the breach. It had revealed it. And now, the fate of both worlds rested in her hands. She picked up the device, its surface warm against her skin. The keepers watched in silence as she activated it, the orb's light intensifying until it filled the chamber. She felt the energy surge through her, a wave of power that threatened to overwhelm her. And then, with a final, blinding flash, it was over. Elena woke in the lab, the device still clutched in her hand. The room was silent, the particle accelerator dark and lifeless. She stumbled to her feet, her mind reeling from what she had experienced. But as she looked out the window, she saw it. The sky, clear and blue, with no trace of the swirling violet storm that had haunted her dreams. The balance had been restored.